Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are reviewing Sick, a film directed by John Hyams and co-written by Scream scribe Kevin Williamson and Caitlin Crabb. Sick is the story, you've seen it before. It's a slasher home invasion story that follows two Gen Z friends, Miri and Parker, as at the start of the pandemic in 2020 retreat to a cabin in the woods to essentially quarantine themselves during the pandemic outbreak. Yeah, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this like I enjoyed Scream. If you like those kind of like slasher sort of films, you're going to enjoy Sick. We start right from the get-go. By the way, before I begin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to review the film, non-spoilers, just give you my thoughts about it, the kind of themes running throughout, and then at the end portion of the video I will go into spoiler territory, because I do think in this particular instance it kind of has a hefty weight to it in terms of what's gone on before. So yeah, we start the film with Tyler. He's walking through a kind of Walmart type of shop, doing his shopping, and we see that, of course, the shelves are empty, all the toilet paper's gone, all the rice is gone, all the kind of pasta's gone, and it kind of brings you back to the early 2020s when this pandemic was just starting. What it brilliantly does in that kind of respect as well is, like a smell can sometimes bring you back to a certain event in your life. For me, as I'm half Irish and I've been to Ireland before, it's that turf smell, that kind of composty, sort of mouldering, earthy sort of smell. Whenever I smell that, I'm just instantly transported back to Ireland. What this does in the first like 10 minutes brings you back to those days when, you know, the kind of arrows on the floor, this kind of false kind of sense of there's some kind of authority when it comes to going to shops. Tyler is doing his shopping and gets a kind of mysterious text saying, you know, want a party? And he's like, yeah, sure, why not? And yeah, the kind of stalking ensues from there. He goes back to his house and things develop. Much in the same sort of pacing as Scream, when you had Drew Barrymore begin the film by getting the kind of what's your favourite scary movie. This is very similar in tone. A lot of this is very similar in tone with Scream, and you can see Kevin Williamson's signature marks on this. We then cut to the two Gen Z girls, Miri and Parker. They're just basically breaking up from school. School's been closed down now. Anderson Cooper's on the TV saying that, you know, 97% of Americans are housebound now. This is back when we thought it was just going to be a couple of weeks, and I think for a lot of people, you're going to be instantly, you're either going to like this kind of concept or you're not. There's been a lot of TV shows, a lot of kind of films that have sort of played with the element of the kind of pandemic as a kind of anchor to their film. Some people don't really want to remember those times. People lost family members, lost friends during this pandemic. To see a kind of film where its central theme revolves around COVID may turn some people off. And yeah, you're either gonna like that concept or you're not. But these two girls basically go to this cabin in the woods, and in typical American horror fashion, this cabin is really more like a mansion. I can't remember what Parker's dad does or parents do. I don't know if she actually explains it, but I really love in certain films where you come to this, let's just kind of hang out in my cabin in the woods, and you just see this gargantuan colossal mansion being there. It's like, what the what do you do? What do your parents do? Like, how can you afford this? It's kind of like the Friends element of like these, you know, late 30 somethings with these like really terrible jobs like waitressing and stuff like that, and being able to live in these lush apartments. It's always something that's niggled at me, and this is just the same. However, we get to see these girls get into their routine. They're sunbathing on the kind of decking. They're just basically having a good time. They're thinking that they're going to ride out the quarantine in 2 weeks, and then that'll be that. Unbeknownst that, you know, 2 years later, still sort of dealing with COVID in that respect. Anywho, there are basically, there's a stalker. Parker starts getting the same texts that Tyler did. and they start getting stalked. It effectively becomes a kind of cat and mouse chasing around in the dead of night. This kind of guy dressed in black with a knife. There's no ghost face sort of masks in this. There's no sort of Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees style, big bulking person in a mask. It's just a guy in black, like a ninja, coming in and trying to kill them. Hyams directs with a kind of hard cut sort of flair. There's a lot of hard cuts in this kind of film. The initial kind of sequence with Tyler in his house is a very good way of like running around in a very confined small space. But yeah, essentially, if you've seen Scream, if you've seen kind of slasher movies before, like this is what you're going to get. The main source of action is based at this house, this cabin in the woods. The characters. This is where I think the film falls a little bit. There's not really much in terms of character development. You have Parker's character who has this kind of on-off relationship with a guy called DJ. He essentially comes to the house uninvited. He's one of the three in the core group that are in this kind of cabin in the woods. And essentially, you get the kind of sense that these are just like kids having a good time. We're not really there to kind of see some kind of traumatic past that they have. Miri's character, who's played by Bethlehem Million, is the kind of anti-polarizing character for Parker. She's basically wearing a mask all the time. She's wanting to keep the 6-foot rule in effect. Anyone that comes near, she's like, no. She's the person who's abiding by the guidelines that the government have set up, whereas Parker is more of a carefree, spirited type of teenager who just, fuck it sort of thing. I just want to have fun. But you're not looking for character development in this type of film. You're looking for the deaths to see how fun, exaggerated they are. And there are some that come with this. Overall, I did think that, if you're into jump scares, this does offer a few. Some you can see telegraphed from a mile away. There's one point in particular where someone gets on a kind of raft and is rowing away. You can sort of see what's coming. There's also another point where some of the characters are hiding under a kind of window, and you can tell it's like the Resident Evil dogs through a window. You know that something's going to happen soon. So if you're used to this kind of genre, you can see the kind of the clicks, the pacing coming out sort of thing. Parker and Miri are those sort of Gen Z, whiny, socially media addicted teenagers. If you can't get on board with that, I don't think you're going to have a good time with this film. Maybe it is too familiar to Scream in that respect, and there are some gimmicks at play here that you could sort of think, well, maybe something new, something different, and that comes to the kind of end segment. So my thoughts on this, I really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed the film. Sometimes you're just in the mood for a bit of slash, a bit of cut. Spoilers. Let's talk about spoilers. So at this point of the review, if you do not want to know anything about this, then you turn off now, basically, because we're going to go into spoiler territory. And the reason why I think this has to be mentioned is because this is the kind of reveal of why this person or these people are attacking the two girls in the cabin. So it transpires when DJ comes to the cabin. He wants to get it back on with Parker. He shows her an Instagram post that she was kissing some guy, making the kissy faces with some guy at a party. And he wants to get back with her. It transpires that she has COVID and the kid who she's kissing has died. And the people that are after her are a family, and it's their son that died. So they want to exact their revenge. And essentially it boils down to the fact that, you're either one of these people during a lockdown where did you go out and party? Did you go out and socialize? Did you go out and see your friends? If you are, hey, I'm not judging. I'm not here to judge. What am I doing? I'm just reviewing a film here. But it kind of boils down to that, it's accountability. and perhaps some kids didn't really think that far ahead. You look at the kind of news segments around that time where people were demanding their freedom and demanding their rights, and who's to say they were right or wrong? It's the kind of moral ambiguity that you take away from this film, I think. So yeah, the people, it's not just one person in a kind of black garbed army style fatigues that are coming in after them. It's a couple of people. And Parker and Miri do a kind of Home Alone style. It starts off as just them trying to get away. They can't through nefarious reasons, like their tires are slashed. But they get to a kind of point where, essentially they kill one of the intruders, one of the stalkers. It's tied back to COVID and the fact that if Parker didn't go to this party, if she didn't lock lips with some people, then that person wouldn't have died. And it's really down to you as the viewer to decide whether she was in the right or in the wrong. I think a lot of the fact of the point is that we kind of initially thought when the pandemic hit that, this disease would sort of kind of targeted at old people. You don't really think that, there were young people that died throughout this as well. It would be interesting to have, I fortunately didn't have any family members die through the COVID period. But I know of friends that did have family members. So it would be interesting to kind of see their thoughts on this particular film. Is it being emotionally manipulative in that respect? There's a reason why a lot of the TV shows and a lot of films that have used their anchor as COVID have flopped, because I don't think people really want to tread back to that era, to that time. It's only 3 years ago, only recently 3 years ago. But there are obviously going to be films that are made that have the main focal point being COVID. So it's interesting in that kind of respect. Will it stand the test of time? Who knows? I enjoyed it for what it was, a simple kind of popcorny slasher film. I don't think you need to look into it too much in depth to kind of see the psychological process of why this person is doing this and why that person is doing that. There are some good deaths involved. There are good, involving, antlers, for one thing. Would I recommend it? Probably, I would probably recommend it to someone who enjoys the genre and who I knew probably didn't have family members die from this very real virus, to be honest with you. There you go. There's my hot take on Sick. What did you think? Have you seen it? This is currently streaming on Peacock. It will be released in the UK later on in March. Are you going to see it? Are you interested? Are you one of those people that has had family members or friends contract COVID at the time when everyone was locked away? And what are your thoughts on it? Do you feel like this is emotionally manipulative? I don't know. Tell me in the comments below. Anyway, I'll be back again this week with some more indie horror games and some more reviews. I'm pretty sure at this point of time I will be doing a live stream session with Steve Talks Movies about Strange Days. Ralph Fiennes, that film back in the old 90s when it was Y2K. That was the other thing, right? In the year 2000, the millennium. So join us for that. That's going to be at 4 p.m. on Sunday. This will probably be released Monday, so you'll probably be able to see it on his channel later on. And until then, I will see you later, you horrible lot.